So I wanted to talk more today about Bishop Budd and the reaction that we have seen to that. She simply asked Donald Trump to consider having mercy on people who are scared right now. She brought up the gay and trans community and how so many of them are scared right now. She brought up people who are working to make a living in this country and they're members of our communities, but they may not have the proper documentation. And she was simply asking him to consider having mercy on people who felt scared at the moment. I didn't see anything hateful about her tone. She wasn't up there screaming at him. She wasn't yelling at him. She wasn't going down there and grabbing him by the wrist and trying to drag him to the altar. And the reason I say all those things is because I come from a part of the world where people do exactly that. I come from a part of the world where the ministers, we refer to them as fire-breathing preachers. They come out there and every word's like this, and they're right in your face, and they will come down there, and they will grab you by your wrist, and they will drag you up there, and they do that because they're trying to put fear in people. And they scream at people in the most hateful of tones. And I have seen people pulled to the altar and in fear, shaken in fear. And so that's why when I stumble across someone like Reverend Ed here on YouTube and I see him speaking in such a soft, compassionate, and reasonable tone, it's like, whoa, wait a minute. And I lean in and listen. Because there were so many times I was in places where I felt like I needed to lean back to get away from the madness. That is not how that this bishop spoke to Trump at all. She spoke with kindness. She spoke with compassion. She simply asked him to consider having mercy. And then Maga has absolutely went overboard, talking about how that she should be deported, calling her satanic, calling her woke, saying that she came at him with a radical agenda, and they're demanding that she apologize. They're demanding that she apologize, and she has said she's not going to apologize, and I applaud her for that. But I wanted to play this clip because I felt like this subject needs more than just one video. I wanted to play this clip of her talking about why she said what she said to Trump, and then we're going to come back and talk more about how that MAGA has not only got their morals and values completely twisted, but they've actually thrown them completely out the window. Let's listen to the bishop, and then we'll talk more about this.
I appreciate your time, and your tone there, so serious and genuine. You see him, he's stone-faced, he then looks down, but he's listening to every word you say. As you made that personal plea to him, what were you looking at him in that moment? What kind of response were you perhaps hoping for in that moment?
I was looking at the president because I was speaking directly to him. I was also, frankly, as you do in every sermon, speaking to everyone who was listening through that one-on-one conversation with the president, reminding us all that in the people that are frightened in our country, the two groups of people that I mentioned are our fellow human beings, and that they have been portrayed in all throughout the political campaign in the harshest of lights that I wanted to counter as gently as I could with a reminder of their humanity and their place in our wider community. And I was speaking to the president because I felt that he has this moment now where he feels charged and empowered to do what he feels called to do. And I wanted to say, you know, there is room for mercy. There's room for a broader compassion. We don't need to portray with a broad cloth in the harshest of terms some of the most vulnerable people in our society who are, in fact, our neighbors, our friends, our children, our friends' children, and so forth.
I'm sorry, but when Trump called her mean and nasty, I mean, there was nothing mean and nasty about the way that she talked to him that day, and there's absolutely nothing mean and nasty about the way she's talking there. She seems like a very compassionate, considerate person who was just trying to speak to the president in that moment and speak on behalf of people who needed lifting up because they were afraid, and I applaud her for that, and I do not think that she should apologize. But I think that MAGA has completely, like I said before we went to that clip, not only have they got their morals and values twisted, but they've pretty much thrown them out the window. And if they truly ever dove in and actually read the Bible, I don't even know if they would still be for Jesus, especially if he sat in a church and spoke to them or spoke to Trump that way. I don't know if they would enjoy Matthew chapter 5. So I pulled my Bible out of my drawer, and we're going to read what is known as the Beatitudes. This is from his Sermon on the Mount. So we're going to start at verse 3, and we're just going to go through these and break them down. And let's wonder how Maga would respond to these ideas that Jesus had. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And by the way, I'm reading from a King James Version here. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. When has Maga ever done anything to uplift the poor in spirit? That's exactly who she was asking him to have mercy on, and they're saying she should apologize for that. I don't think they would like that one. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. MAGA's the ones that came up with the phrase "fuck your feelings" and flew flags off their trucks saying that. So I don't ever see them mourning the, comforting the ones that are mourning. Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth. When have they ever had a meek moment? Blessed are they which do hunger and thirst after righteousness, for they shall be filled. I've never really saw them thirst after anything other than hatred and rage. Here's what she was asking for. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall be shown mercy. And here they are condemning her for asking for him to do just that. Blessed are the pure in heart, for they shall see God. I don't even know if I want to react to that one, honestly. I'm not going to judge anyone, but blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall be called children of God. They sure as hell weren't peacemakers on January 6th. Blessed are they which are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. I want to remind y'all they weren't persecuted for righteousness' sake. They were persecuted because they went to the Capitol and beat police officers over the head and broke in and disgraced and completely just made a mockery out of our entire system. That's what they were arrested for. Blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my sake. Rejoice and be exceedingly glad, for great is your reward in heaven, for so persecuted they the prophets which were before you. See, when I read that, the way I interpret that verse, blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you and shall speak all manner of evil against you. I picture he's talking straight to that bishop. That's the way that I interpret that. I picture that he's talking to the bishop, because we have seen some of the most vile and disgusting and hateful posts come from MAGA, and it's just truly disgusting that those people have pushed so many people away from the church. I've said this many times. I'm agnostic. I really don't know if there's a God or not. I don't know if there's a heaven or hell. I truly don't know. I've never been there and came back. If I ever do go and come back, I'll tell you. But I do believe in the teachings of Jesus, and I do believe in treating people just the way that he said right there. I believe that. I believe you can take good from a whole lot of books. There's a lot in the Bible that I disagree with. There's a lot in the Bible that I feel contradicts itself. There's a lot in the Bible that I think was truly disgusting, and people that were heroes in the story a lot shouldn't have been the heroes in the story. But I do believe in the moral teachings that Jesus spoke. I may have walked away from the church, and I may be a complete doubting Thomas, but I've never stopped believing in that idea that we should treat other people good. And to sit back and watch a group of people say that she should apologize, and then Trump says that Zelensky from Ukraine, it's his fault. He shouldn't have let that war happen. He's every bit to blame. Putin invaded his country, and Trump is saying that he holds responsibility for that. They're sitting here, they're pardoning violent insurrectionists and giving them a pass for that and condemning this bishop. They have completely done away with morals and values. I don't see that they have any, because there's absolutely no consistency with the things they say. You cannot say you're the rule of law party and be for people being pardoned who beat up police officers. You can't have it both ways. You can't sit here and blame that on Zelensky and say that it was his fault when it was his country that got invaded. They've got everything so completely twisted and backwards, and that's why they've drove people away from the church. People will say all the time, Brando, why'd you walk away? Because I saw my minister going in a radical direction, and I was not going to sit there and be screamed and yelled at and made to feel guilty for playing music on the weekends in a bar somewhere where people were drinking. I wasn't going to sit there, because I was going back to the Bible where it said there will be people who will strain at a gnat and swallow a camel. And in my mind, me playing Sweet Home Alabama in a bar room somewhere and some people dancing was the gnat, and this radical right-wing agenda that they've embraced was the camel. And it's just so crazy to me that that we're here, and that's where we're at, is where people are condemning a bishop and condemning people whose country got invaded and condemning police officers who got beat up trying to do their job. they have completely threw their morals and their values out the window. I may be agnostic, but I have respect for people, and I have respect for people like Bishop Budd and for Reverend Ed and other people who speak in a compassionate and reasonable tone. I may not agree with everything in this book, and I may be able to argue about certain things in this book, and I will always do that. But I do believe that as long as you are seeking after the truth, if there is a God in the sky, I'll say this: if there's anything on the other side of this madness, it does say, "Surely goodness and mercy will follow me." Well, I hope so, because if there's not goodness and mercy on the other side of this, then y'all might as well just drink up and have a good time. I mean, you might as well just go for it. But surely goodness and mercy will follow, and if there is a merciful God on the other side of this madness, at least he will know that people like us was trying to stand up for people like the bishop. At least he will know that people like us was trying to stand up for people who were afraid. At least we were trying to do. We may not even believed in it. We may not have wore it on our sleeve, but at least we were trying to back it up. And there is a verse in here that says, not everyone that says, Lord, Lord, will enter into the kingdom, but he that does the will of my Father. So I think a whole lot of us are going to make it before the people who are condemning this bishop.